So I would only take it on workout days. Okay. And see, there's only two things I've ever taken that gave me a truly skin-splitting pump.
So I was like, why do I need to blast all these drugs? The same is like, why would I need to take all these like other steroids as well, right? Because not that I didn't try all the things. Like I remember trying Tren, but this was just horrible shit, bro. Like having these sweats.
Just throwing ideas out there. But what reason what goal would you have to set for you to say, okay, I'm going to take Tren, I'm going to take insulin again, you know?
Well, that's control.
So, welcome back to the channel, guys. Here I am with Joesthetics. Welcome back to Dubai.
Thanks, bro. First up, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be on your channel and do some videos.
On yours as well.
Thank you, bro. Yeah. And I thought it's let's say working out videos, guys. You see this stuff all the time. Like we can pull off another chest day and leg day for you, right? But then I was thinking and said to Larry, hey, bro, how about we are discussing a few interesting topics for you guys, because there's a lot of mysterious questions that they now want since you came off all these steroids and are on TRT, and I'm actually always just on TRT, right? So people have a lot of questions and they're wondering about many things, and today we are here to answer all of this thing, right?
Absolutely. And as you guys may or may not know by now, I have completely stopped taking PEDs aside from TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy. I'm on 175 milligrams a week. I'm approximately 7 to 8 weeks off of a cycle.
Okay.
And my goals, my plan for the long term, as of right now, I don't see any necessity to go on a blast again. Right? So I intend on staying on TRT for the long run.
Okay.
As of right now.
Yeah, this is definitely a thing, right? What is your goals? Let's say before you've been doing all these crazy strongman competitions, right? In order to lift like 1,000 pounds and all these things, you couldn't do it with TRT, right? There I was always asking myself personally, I came up to Larry the other day and I said, so what does TRT mean to you, right? Because TRT for me, in my size level would be like, can be varying from 75 milligrams a week up to like 175 milligrams a week. To be honest, I'm doing one shot of test every 10 days. So that's like, technically that would be 250, right? But if like it's inundated, that's the ester, so it goes up and down, right? It declines. So if I would say it manages probably similar, 175, maybe goes up to like 200. Because people also, you have to understand, right? If you take, let's say 250 every 6 days, and the half-life and all that stuff, so then it adds up. You have to calculate this, so you're actually not just like on 250, so it adds up to like 375 even.
Exactly. And me, I started doing my shots sub-Q.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I started doing sub-Q. Don't need a harpoon anymore.
Yeah.
No more pain while injecting or muscle soreness after injection. It's completely painless.
Yeah, wait. So you do sub-Q like daily then?
No, I do it just like every 4 days.
Okay, because I have a lot of friends, they've been talking to me as well, and they do sub-Q now. It's kind of popular these days, bro. I didn't even know. So I'm like, okay, let me try this as well. And they said to me, do the daily injections is the best for the most stable levels.
Which is true. And when I was injecting daily, it wasn't sub-Q, it was actually rotating injection sites, painful, and you build up scar tissue. And it's just not something I can maintain for a long time, right? So TRT is, for years, I intend on being TRT, but so this was just for a very short-term period when I was bodybuilding. And libido, sleep, linear progress, things were just more consistent when I was pinning every day. When I'm pinning every 4 days, however, I don't feel a very significant difference with my like libido, my mood, my training, my strength, my weight doesn't fluctuate. But now when I pin every, for example, like 7 to 10 days, as you are, I do find a bit of a roller coaster, especially with libido. So
personally, I was then splitting it up always in like 2, right? So I take like 0.5 every 5 days.
Yeah.
Let's say 5 to 6 days, depends on, let's say, because I would check that it's kind of like 6 days is like 5.5 5.5 days actually, because one time it's in the morning and one time it's in the evening the other time.
Yeah.
And I tried actually the daily injection sub-Q because people recommended it to me, and I'm checking everything with blood work non-stop, because I can't tell by just how I feel what's going on. So I always non-stop, because I live in Thailand and it's so easy to get blood work done. I'm just going in, bam, check my estrogen, take my test, and I found my personal estrogen levels, they've been going up to 60 when I did the daily injections. So I was like, why is that? So how can that be? So I somehow was converting better or more just when I took it daily sub-Q. So then I switched back to once a week. That was then too long as well, right? If you do like every 10 days or like 11 days, therefore it was like too low. I was at like 15 somehow just. And then when I do it twice a week, I ended up at like 21. So because I'm always very, for me, estrogen levels make a huge difference also in how I feel in my mood. When you cross your estrogen, you feel like shit, you're angry, you're moody, you're kind of depressed, libido doesn't really work. If the estrogen is too high, it's kind of also the same thing. I don't know if you've been experiencing estrogen differences with your TRT levels now?
No, not at all. I haven't found any big difference in my estrogen from when I was on blast, when I was taking 500 mgs or 1,000 plus. My mood was always stable.
Okay,
right?
but have you taken any Arimidex like inhibitors?
Never, actually. Never. So it doesn't convert like others I've spoken to. Like you said, with you find that it converts even just by changing how frequently you're pinning.
That was very, very interesting for me to see that I'm just in this way. As you see, I'm very different. I'm hypersensitive also to that stuff, because if I would be using just 500 tests, I couldn't do it without getting gynecomastia, because I would have had to take an estrogen inhibitor, because my estrogen was just skyrocket through the roof. But therefore it's also very important, guys, that you keep that in check. It's not only like how you feel, it's also that you have proof on paper, take your blood work, and then you can also see what's going on.
For example, I was taking 2,000 milligrams of test at one point for 8 weeks, and I developed no gynecomastia, no symptoms of converting into estrogen.
But did you
had a higher than normal? Sorry?
Did you check your test? Has your test levels also been skyrocket like it? I don't know what you have test levels when you take 2 grams of test a week. Then your test levels on paper should be, I don't know, 6,000?
See, on paper, the unit of measurement was different. It's not like it was saying, okay, it's like 6,000, 7,000. So I have to go back in my report to see exactly what it was. But I did get my blood work at the time, and yet everything was in the red.
Okay, and your estrogen was still not skyrocketing?
It was not skyrocketing.
Wow.
No.
Wow. This is very different, for example, from user to user. Therefore, it just helps that you keep that in check. And these days, actually, it's good. I don't know, in the US, for example, there's all these clinics nowadays where you can approach and make sure that you get proper blood work done from specialists and get it in check.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned earlier in the video, you touched on what my goals are and how that may affect what my cycle is.
Yep.
So as of right now, I'm focusing mostly on arm wrestling, not only being an ambassador for the sport, but becoming better as an athlete. And I am doing powerlifting just because it's an obsession more than anything. It's my first true love. I've been doing it since I'm 17 years old. I'm never going to stop doing squat, bench, and deadlift. And I always want to maintain elite level at powerlifting.
Probably also this makes you maintain the physique that you have right now, because if you are going off, let's say, or on TRT, and then you just train half-ass, then you might lose a lot of size, but you got the strength, you got the dense muscle, you got these fibers strong as fuck, so your body is ready to just still keep up the workload, still keep the strength, maybe like you said, 80%.
Right, exactly. I say I lost between 10 to as much as 20% on like my bench, for example.
Okay.
I haven't seen as much loss on my squat and deadlift.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, guys, there's also like sometimes, like first you can build up the body and then at one point you can maintain, for example. That's why I just wanted to check what is your TRT levels, because another bodybuilder who is like on also for like 20 years already, and for them TRT would mean even like up to, I was discussing this with a doctor, they say up to 500 could even mean TRT for some guys, right? It really depends on what does your body look like. Are you like a 70 kg guy? Are you a 120 kg guy? What is your height? How long are you already training? And all this plays a big difference in finding your range of TRT. I mean, personally, people, they never really believe me that I'm just on TRT. Like even let's say when I came back from my biceps injury, okay, yeah, maybe I was sparking it up to like 250 a week. But I personally never really felt good with taking a lot of testosterone. And personally, I would always wanted to try to stay away from it completely. But as I kind of messed up my, what is it called, my my hormone panels. So I also was checking with the doctor, coming off. I was off for a year, right? This was my longest, was 1 year and 2 months where I was off. And I still wasn't really able to recover. Therefore, I just decided to also stay on TRT. Also helps me to maintain the physique that I have. I can still make progress. I can still get stronger, get bigger by just my eating habits and how I do this. Which brings me actually to the next topic, which is growth hormone and insulin use.
Right. So when I was competing in bodybuilding, it was almost mandatory that I was taking insulin. So I remember when I started working with my coach, he prescribed me insulin and growth hormone. I believe it was pre and post workout I was taking insulin, about 8 to 16 units, depending on what I was training. It was an off day, an on day. So I would only take it on workout days.
Okay.
And see, there's only 2 things I've ever taken that gave me a truly skin-splitting pump, and that would be insulin and IGF-1.
Okay.
Right? Growth hormone, I've taken it by itself. I couldn't tell you if it did anything at all. Maybe it made my waist a bit slimmer and tighter. Probably placebo.
This is really a really big thing that I wanted to touch on as well, because I have never spoken about this, but yeah, I would have been using GH also. I would have been trying it because everyone in the fitness industry is like, this is the magic sauce, bro. If you want to be shredded as hell and if you want to be big, you gotta get on that growth hormone. So I'm also like, okay, man, so how am I doing this? So I'm asking a few different people, right? And they say, yeah, but look, if you start GH, you have to use it at least for 6 months, every day, in order to see any effect about this. Right. So I'm like, okay, how much am I then using? Okay, like 2 IUs per day. Yeah, that's what you should be using for in terms of like fat loss and looking good with your physique. Because people, they would always report about this. Yeah, man, you use GH and you will be shredded, man. It keeps the fat off you and stuff. And like, okay, let's see how it goes. I'm using this 6 months, I don't find any difference at all with this stuff, like for real, man. And then it's expensive.
That's
then
right.
You don't know if you get real stuff. And it's a big struggle. So for the majority of people out there who are watching this video right now, I can personally say, bro, you probably don't need any GH in your life, man, because you are wasting money and it's not like the magic pill that you transforms here. But as Larry said, insulin and like IGF-1, I personally never tried IGF-1. With insulin, I will come to that in a second. But this stuff, I can believe, yeah, this is a game-changing pump, which I also experienced because I was trying sometimes. People would say, if you want to improve your arms, man, you got to take some insulin pre and post workout. And I was like, okay, but like how, like how am I doing this? They say, yeah, like you take 5 units pre and you take 5 units post, but make sure that you have enough carbs. But then I'm always kind of dieting, right? So I'm like, okay, so how am I doing this? I'm taking the insulin, then I go to the gym, bro. I'm having my intra-workout shake, but I'm doing 3-4 sets too much in between. I forget to drink, carbs drop too low, blood sugar, boom. I'm getting all sweaty and fucked up, man. I'm like, holy fuck, I'm not feeling any good. Then I have to drink a lot of sugar in order to get rid of the hypoglycemic thing. And so for me personally, I was like, hey, this is too dangerous. It's just really dangerous, man. Absolutely. Because you would see people, like they can be dropping dead because insulin is the number one thing. If your blood sugar drops too low and you fall asleep, you might never wake up again, man.
Seriously, and that's the main reason I use it twice, I believe. After the second time, I just couldn't deal with going hypo, and I was on point. I always made sure I had sugar in my car, just as an emergency. I had little candy bars. I had fast-acting sugars and drinks up in the car, just as a precaution. In my bedroom, I had sugar everywhere in the house. I had sugar just in case, and still would go hypo regardless.
Yeah. So also for me, I tried because the most important thing I want to improve on my body, guys, is my arms, man. I'm quite happy with my physique. More hamstrings, more arms, more triceps. That's me, man. I'm trying, but I'm also trying by just working a tiny bit harder, getting my food and my nutrition a bit better on point. And then the drugs is such a small percentage that you can actually, if you just use a bit of test, oh my God, that's a real game changer. You don't need all these other things like GH, insulin, and growth. You can also just do it by eating properly.
Oh, absolutely. And I will touch on, depending on what your goals are, you and someone trying to become the next Mr. Olympia will have very different looking cycles. And I do think, after my experience with IGF-1 and with insulin, that it gives you such an edge when you're pumped, right? Your physique transforms within minutes. I mean, there's nothing like it I've ever taken. I've taken all the PEDs you can think of, you know, things like Tren and Joesthetics, so on and so forth. And nothing gave me a pump quite like that. And the size you put on from using it happened so quickly. I just can't imagine you getting to the top level of bodybuilding without it. You know, when all the top pros are likely using it. So how can you get to where they're at without it, right? When it's going around in the community, everyone knows about it, likely nearly everyone's using it, because it does make dramatic difference. It's like natural, TRT, on cycle, IGF, and insulin.
Yeah. But then also, like we just said, guys, it's a very, very sketchy thing to do. If you do this by your own, man, you are in high risk, man. I would say that's like what I did. Like I tried it a couple times. Maybe like 5-6 times I did insulin, just like and then I was like, okay, fuck this, I just do it post-workout, because I would be like, I cannot go hyper in the gym, then my workout is shit, and then I don't get these effects. So I tried post-workout, but then also you have to keep eating. Then it depends on obviously which kind of insulin. There's like 2 types as far as I know. I don't know too much, but there's like a slow-acting one and a fast-acting one. I never tried the slow-acting one. I only did the fast, rapid one. And then I take it, and then like 6 hours later there's another spike, and then all of a sudden you still have not enough food there, and then you go all sweaty again and all that stuff. So I personally thought, hey, what is my goal? Do I want to be a real big bodybuilder, or am I just more like a fitness guy that wants to look aesthetic and as aesthetic as possible and make my physique just round and full and work on the weak points? That's my goal. Also mainly I'm here to motivate and inspire and spread good vibes, guys. If you ever noticed that I'm more about like motivating, inspiring you, brother. So anyway, so I was like, why do I need to blast all these drugs? The same is like, why would I need to take all these like other steroids as well, right? Because not that I didn't try all the things. Like I remember trying Tren, but this was just horrible shit, bro. Like having these sweats, bad skin, bad libido, being a grumpy man, looking maybe good, but for me personally, so I was like, hey, I don't do these competitions. So I personally, why should I bother even? Why should I even bother? And even then, when you do the competitions, you would have other options to use instead of these nasty things personally. So it really is up to what is your goal, right? Like you said, big bodybuilders, you might have to push and take certain other things than a guy who just wants to have a crazy physique. And the next thing is also like, in order to get your best physique, you don't even have to use any of these drugs, because like, if you get your nutrition and training on point, these are the most important things where you should focus on. These 2 things, training, nutrition and sleep. And if you got this nailed down and proper, then you can implement some kind of maybe like performance enhancing drug.
Exactly. And if you were ever to blast again or use harsh compounds, for what purpose would you use it for? I know you've done a lot of experimenting, as you just mentioned, but would you ever get on stage again? Would you ever do an arm wrestling competition, for example? Just throwing ideas out there. But what reason what goal would you have to set for you to say, okay, I'm going to take Tren, I'm going to take insulin again, you know?
To be honest, if I put the goal out that like people, they always keep telling me, you should compete, Joe, you should compete, you have crazy legs, man, you should do classic physique. But I'm seeing the real like, because if I look at someone, any sport that I ever did, I only look at the best of the best. And this is my example. Like, if I want to do this, this is what I need to look like, okay? And then I already know my genetics and all that stuff. And I already can tell, okay, I might need to use this and this and this and this and this. But is it my personal goal? As I personally don't really have the goal to be Mr. Classic Physique Olympia whatsoever, not saying that these guys are using any of these things. I mean, I don't know what these guys are using, right? But if I personally would like to look like these guys, I believe I might need to step it up to an extreme, which I personally just not willing to do.
Exactly.
Therefore, in terms of goals again, right. Also like you, so if you ever want to compete in all these strongman competitions again, you know what you have to do, right?
Exactly. When I was competing, I wanted to compete at the highest level. And I chose sports like powerlifting and strongman because, like you, I looked at the top guys, I saw what they were doing and said, okay, I look like them, right? I have the frame for it. I'm close enough where if I go to the extreme, I could potentially take the #1 spot in so-and-so, right?
This is really a big thing because you are literally, we have to say this again, you are literally one of the strongest human beings on this fucking planet, man. So you have the genetics and the potential, right? And if you have a guy with the genetics and the potential, and then you take all the necessary things, you might become number one in the world, right? As you did many times. So you knew what other guys are doing. So therefore, if you just also maybe did similar things, you could achieve this great success.
Absolutely, right? And just being realistic with yourself and your expectations, right, should help you make the decision whether or not it's worth it for you to go to the extreme. Right?
Opens up a real new topic, because being realistic with yourself is a thing. If you cannot make a mouse, as is a German saying, you cannot make a mouse into an elephant, okay? And then you have to look at what is your genetics. Some people have very narrow frames. Some people, they take the tiniest amount of gear and they blow up, bro. Some people, they take in a gram of test and it's just not really working for them.
Exactly. I'm seeing these people on both sides of the spectrum.
And therefore you can try, bro. That's what I mean. Like you can try all these things, but please be realistic with yourself. Okay? In order, like, mostly you have to understand that you, the viewers out there, for mostly you guys just want to look good, that when you take your shirt off, that the chicks like you, that you look hot, that you can have a nice beach body. You go to the beach, you take your shirt off, and you just look jacked, good, and feel good. This is also the most important thing, because what a lot of people don't understand, if you're using a lot of PEDs, you might feel miserable. You might look good, but you might be a very angry man. It's like, I see it many times, I don't want to say, but I see many times people, let's say, especially in the last few weeks before competitions.
Oh, yes.
A lot of people, they are just like hard to talk with, you know what I mean? And I'm always a happy guy, I walk around, I'm like smiling, and then I see guys, but like, bro, you look amazing, man. Like, what is wrong with you, bro? Like, why are you such an angry man? But yeah, PEDs, they can skyrocket your emotions as well. And if you already, like this again, where we come back to be realistic, if you are like prone to be, if you're already an angry man and you put Tren on top, man, yeah, you might be a volcano, bro.
Seriously, I've never been more grumpy. Never really been grumpy, period, unless I was on Tren, right? So it can make someone as calm or positive as you and I into a grumpy, irritable person. It can. So what this does as well, right? When you're using PEDs, you're abusing them, right, to get to the highest level of competitive bodybuilding, you're risking your relationships. You're risking your girlfriend, you know, your family, your friends, because you're changing. They're not. You're changing, and then you're gonna feel like everything is getting under your skin, right? And you're gonna distance yourself from these people.
Not
right?
only this, but you get maybe very sensitive to all these things, and that's a very big point that Larry just said. You are changing. Your physique is changing, your mood is changing, everything around you is like maybe the same, but then you go to work, many people have a normal job, all of a sudden you act up, and you have to also ask yourself again, be realistic, what is your goals, right? I'm not saying if you want to be the next Mr. Olympia, go for it, man. It really depends on you want to be next, what is it called, Neil Armstrong, like the cyclist man. Yeah, there's things that you might have to do, but on the other side you have to have like risk and reward, okay? And there's a lot of things in this fitness world where it's high risk and very little reward. Therefore you have to just ask yourself, why would you be doing this? So that's why I personally just told myself, look, I'm looking amazing, and I'm really happy that I achieved this physique with like just the littlest amounts of gear possible that I was using, while other people say, hey Joe, it's not true, the way you look is impossible to look. But I can tell you, Larry, man, I mean, if you just hang around me, you will see that I'm a machine. I'm doing the cardio, I'm having no excuses, I'm eating right, and I'm just getting the work done that is necessary to be in shape. I piss off a lot of people because they're like, he's always in shape. But if I would be using all these drugs, my blood work would be looking horrible, I believe. I mean, I don't know, because I'm not doing it. So non-stop I'm checking, because I'm not using much. I'm hyper sensitive, so not sensitive, like I'm hyper cautious in order to check, because then maybe the foods you use, maybe something is also, I'm living in Thailand, man, if I'm eating street food, I'm eating everything, right? Maybe you get a bug, some things can happen, and I'm just very careful with my body, because your health is your wealth. This is something that you have to say. And I've seen it many times that a lot of people, they skyrocket that and they are looking the best, and all of a sudden they're gone. Where are they gone? They wreck their bodies and then they disappear.
And I'd say get your blood work done. If you have low testosterone, then maybe TRT is right for you. If you don't, if you have a high normal testosterone range for like a young man, then you don't need TRT. You don't need any PEDs if your goal is just to look good. You need good diet, good training, good recovery. But it sounds so simple, and it's like everyone's always looking for a shortcut.
Wait, the most important thing that comes into the play is then how bad do you want it that you can keep the consistency up. Because this is something that you have to tell yourself every day is a new day, and if you can keep the consistency up over a year, 2 years, 3 years, then your body will change. And the sport is just a teacher, bro. The bodybuilding sport is the greatest teacher in the world. It teaches you everything. It teaches you discipline and consistency pay off every single time. And if you want to use the shortcuts here, maybe PED is a shortcut. But there's still no success without being disciplined and consistent.
The only ones who I see and speak with that don't make progress in the gym or reaching their fitness goals are the ones that you talk to and they say, well, I was training for a couple of months, then I stopped. I was preparing for this show and then I just pulled out. You know, they're on and off, they're on and off, on and off. That's the majority of the population that goes to commercial gyms. They're on and off, and that's why they make no progress. They're in the same place, they look the same, they lift the same, right? But it's the people who day in and day out, week in, week out, they don't stop, they don't quit. I can relate with my arm wrestling journey to be a bit more relatable in the situation, right? If I compare myself 6 months ago as an arm wrestler, I would crush the version of me 6 months ago, right? If I look at myself at where I'm at today, it's hard to see where I've made progress. But if you look back 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, maybe 2 years now, I've made tremendous progress since I first started, right? Now, if I had quit because I lost a few times and I was sad about it, I would be at the same place now, 2 years later, as I was when I first started. But it's because I'm not quitting that I'm constantly progressing. And that's all it comes down to, consistency, right?
Then it's also, that's why I'm trying to motivate you guys a lot with the content that I'm doing, and also like educating about training, exercising. It's train hard, train smart, train consistent, and stay dedicated with your goals. You have to set small goals and keep motivating yourself by reaching these small goals, right? If you are dieting and you say, okay, in the next 3 weeks I'm gonna drop this much weight, in the next 6 weeks I'm gonna try to look like this. You set, be realistic is the next thing, and therefore like the sport of bodybuilding and fitness is a great teacher for all over your life, man. It teaches you discipline, consistency, and it helps you just in many ways, you know. It also is about food and nutrition. It's just about, I see people, and I'm doing this for years, and I'm every day, and I'm eating the same things non-stop all the time, and they're like, I'm bored, I wanna eat this, I wanna eat that, but how bad do you really want it? Like, can you train yourself to be a certain way? Can you change your bad habits? Can you adapt? Can you adjust your life? And then also, it's also about, people ask me non-stop, should I be using this? Hey, bro, should I jump on? Should I be using this? I'm like, how long are you now training for? What is the ultimate goal? What is your ultimate goal? Yeah, I just like, I would like to impress my crush, right? I want to be good looking. I want to do this competition. Depends on what your goals are. But for 90%, I swear 9 out of 10 people who ask me, I say, if you ask me, I would stay away from it. Not because but people, they always say, yeah, but Joe, you're only here now because you did all these things and you wouldn't be that great. But then I'm like, hey, wait a second. I see so many athletes around now who look fucking amazing and they don't take shit. Yeah, it's controversial because the guys who look really good, natural, nobody believes that they are natural. But hey, this is the same shit, like I don't walk, this is your positive mindset or you have a negative mindset, bro. It's the same shit, you walk around, you see people with watches and you say, this is a fake watch. It's like, how do you know? I always give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, if you tell me that you are natural and I can kind of like see that it looks possible, I would rather just try to believe you instead of always putting you down. But it's always much easier to say, nah, than giving someone the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, it can be tough to give credit where it's due for some people. That's for sure. That's for sure. I think we covered a lot of great points, and we should probably wrap this video right at. Yeah. And the message that we're trying to get across today is to speak about our experience as individuals, right? We're not doctors, right?
We are. No, this is no advice at all.
That's
like
right.
if you have guys,
we're not giving medical advice here.
This is just us. Like discussing our personal experiences with these things, okay? And just try to make a bit of different points of like, okay, this is more bodybuilding and fitness. What are these guys doing? What is the hardcore guys doing? And like you just make a resume out of this. What do you think about this, bro? Leave us feedback in the comments down below. If you're also interested to see more videos like this, I'm happy to talk about this also, especially for like this TRT topic for people in older ages, bro. Like there's a lot of men, for them it seems very logic and makes sense to jump on TRT, for example, while for others, maybe you are just 17, 18, 19, 20 until 25, bro, probably you are not the right guy to do it. But I hope that we have been able here to like educate yourself in this extent and give you our personal experience about this. And obviously it's always about make mistakes, right? Learn from it and then be smarter. Like mostly work hard, work smart, be consistent, set realistic goals and be realistic with yourself.
What a great way to wrap it. On that note, follow me, follow Joe. We'll be back very soon. Any particular PEDs, peptides, hormones you'd like us to discuss as individuals or together, comment down below, guys, okay? We want to hear what you guys have to think, and hopefully we can make another video about it if you're interested.
Thanks for watching, guys. Adios, amigos.